Welcome, r/Nuclearrevenge. I wanted my father to understand I wasn't coming. My parents divorced when I was in first grade. Not only did my dad disappear like Houdini, he stole my mother's ATM card to her personal account and drained her dry. My mother, being the saint she is, didn't even bat an eye. She still was cordial to him and never said a negative word about him. To me, my dad, albeit abandoning us, was still my hero. From 1st through 5th grade I had the usual abandoned by dad stories. Maybe 1 or 2 visits in a year and 50 times of me waiting by the front window with my suitcase packed to go to his house and him never showing up. My mom through all of this was supportive and never said an ill word about him. So he still stayed my hero. When I was in 6th grade my mother finally remarried and my father, who only had a picture of me at 8 months old in his wallet, went ballistic. Did I mention he never paid child support? He would use his father's social, they had the same name, to get away with it. After my mom remarried, he let it be known that I was now my stepdad's responsibility. He cut off communication with me until I graduated high school. He didn't attend my graduation or send a card. What he did do was write me an email thanking God he no longer had to pay child support. He didn't anyway. What really broke me was his ruthless and brutal attack on my mother. Attacking her weight, looks, teeth, and blaming any perceived negative traits that I had on her. For the first time I realized what an cowardly piece of shit he was. I responded in kind. He told me I was no child of his, and that I was a waste. After that I vowed that I would hurt him. 10 years later, my father, not interested in my wedding or my son, reached out to me. You see, he is a diabetic, and one of his organs were failing, and he didn't have long. He's too far down on the list and he needed someone in our family to donate. Nuclearrevenge activated. I answered his email. I met up with him and pretended that I didn't hate his guts. I went and got tested to see if I was a match. I was. Did the therapy and met with doctors and his therapist. We scheduled the surgery. The day of the surgery we meet at the hospital. I smiled in his face and let him know that I wouldn't be going through with the surgery. I watched the confusion line his face. I just wanted you to know that you're no father to me and you're a waste. I left the hospital and drive home. My mom was pretty annoyed with me that I took it that far. My father is dying and I will be attending the funeral out of spite. And I will let everyone know what a piece of shit he was. TLDR. Father abandoned me and called me a waste. Later in life he needs an organ. I agree and match with him and abandon him at the hospital the day of the surgery. After calling him a waste, he will die and I will ruin his funeral. Edit 1. This really blew up. For those questioning my actions I will give further detail. My father was / is semi-obsessed with my mother. His attachment to us was only in his perceived ability to get back with my mother. In the beginning he would call and make plans to see us and just not show up. My mom would have to make up excuses. He has been married over 4 times and supports and loves his stepkids without a thought to us. Once my mother remarried he was done with us. He kept in contact with my mother through email, but had no interest in talking to his children. I have reached out to him before to invite him to my graduation, to let him know of my marriage and that he was a grandfather. All I got back was pictures of his new wife's kiddos. Upon getting to know him, after agreeing to donate, I went to one of his therapy sessions at his request. There I heard the story of the true reason he contacted me. I listened as he lamented about his impending death. How he was resigned to his fate, only to have his new wife remind him of his former kids and maybe one of them will donate. And he got excited because he had forgotten all about us. And it was like hope renewed. Do you know how shitty it is to listen to the person who is responsible for your very existence talk about forgetting your very existence? Like I was a pair of sturdy old boots that gather dust in the back of the hall closet. Now rediscovered I was to be worn to go shovel shit. I knew then I wasn't going to give him anything. Thanks for the silver and gold. Edit 2. I'm not worried about a will or being left anything. He had nothing to leave. He's the male equivalent of a gold digger. He only marries women who can take care and support him as he mooches off of them. He stole thousands from my mother and she didn't press charges because she didn't want her children's father in jail. My mother was his first wife and he learned his lesson not to have kids of his own, but to move into ready-made families. His ex-wives and their children have nothing nice to say about him. When I told him I wasn't going through with it, he understood exactly why. He nodded his head in understanding. I already was approached for money to contribute to the funeral and I will. If it were me, I would have agreed to go see if I was a match, and then when he found out we were, I'd tell him to go fuck himself. Scheduling the surgery might have been a little too far, BC. You're wasting the time of the doctors that were going to do the operation. Also, I'm confused what you mean by healthcare isn't free. They were paid for their time. Do you think that doctors in countries with free healthcare just work for free? More the issue is that took time from someone else that could be getting a procedure done, since the time blocks are reserved, but hopefully they were able to get some other people in sooner then, and move things around for others to get in sooner. I understand completely though for your dad. He made his death bed and he can line it. You're not a backup organ bay for him to pick up, pull something out of, and toss back aside when he gets what he wants. I'd say the pose can mull over his shit life choices over his final moments, but people like that have their heads too far up their own asses, and would likely still feel you owed them, and blame everyone but themselves. I have a shit dad too, can you tell? As a 20-year-old man with a deadbeat father, I understand what you did. I applaud you. In my circumstances, things were a lot different, but same BS logic that they have. I occasionally think about finding out about him dying, how I'd feel nothing. No remorse, no sadness, no anger, no satisfaction. You are a strong person. Keep that backbone of yours. Never let it weaken. Let the knowledge of him not having any love for himself is why he never showed you the love a father should give. I know you will be a wonderful parent, and when I have my own child, I will do everything to be the father we never had. I just want you to know I love you, friend. I want to go bigly nuclear on my father for calling me on my birthday last year, in October, at 11 PM and saying, "Hey, I broke my spine again on my street bike." They did imaging, and they found a spot in my lungs. It may be cancer. Also, the doc thinks I probably have congenital/inherited sarcoidosis like your uncle and many of your first cousins have. You maybe wanna get checked/tested for it too. KBREI. Click. Soon after, I was informed I, myself, also have a spot of suspected, hopefully, scar tissue from aspirating, vomit and nothing more. I didn't even know that anyone in my family had chronic inherited physical medical issues from his side. I've now sent him a total of 12 texts between early October 2018 and the end of February 2019. Trying to see how he's doing, or what his test results were, and I've been ignored on all attempts, until I told him outright to get fucked for ignoring me. He did reply to that one, but with nothing of substance. Has been a functional, but extreme meth/ice addict, since right before I was born though, so IDKY I'm surprised. I just wish this shit didn't hurt so much, cause my dick donor will always disappointed me ever. Single chance has given. I do think my father is smart enough to never ask me for an organ or anything else though. He knows he would be told to go get bent fucked. I have a good dad in my stepdad and an amazing mom who played both mom and dad raising me. I hope your revenge experience was cathartic, and I very much hope you got your message across in very certain terms. I hope you're doing very well. Sorry for hijacking and ranting so hard on your post. I don't get it. This need to protect shitty parents. If the behavior of a shitty parent starts affecting the kids, they get an explanation of why. Sanitized and full of empathy, I encourage my kids to have a relationship with my exes based on reality. And so far it's worked. Nothing is perfect, but knowing what is happening helps the kid. Stresses them a bit too, but eventually the outcome is better. So it's not mom does not love you, it's mom was not loved as a kid, she doesn't love you much. Let's try and break this cycle. It creates bonds based on reality, where your ex will comment how understanding, mature and loving their kid is. Is it perfect? Nope. But it helps. It took me too many damn years to understand why I wasn't loved enough as a kid. Nowadays we have all grown up and matured. Are we perfect and with perfect relationships? Nope. But basing relationships on reality helps them evolve. Based on what I'm saying, you still wouldn't have given him an organ, but would have told him up front. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. If you would like to see more, feel free to subscribe.